We are Steven and
Jill.
Jill. Together, we've been buying and reselling land since the 90s.
Our data-centric approach leaves our buyers asking, how can you sell it so cheap?
Here on the Land Academy Show,
We answer that and more. I'm Steven Jack Butala. This is the Land Academy Show. We've got a special treat this week. We are interviewing superstar Land Academy member, Steve Hodgdon. And welcome to the show.
Hi. Hi. Well,
It's great to have you. I know you've been a member for a while. I know you have other businesses, successful businesses, which I'm super personally intrigued about, and I'm sure everybody else is. How you doing today? And maybe you can start off with your professional experience.
All right. Well, I'm very happy to be here. You and I met in person way back in the thing you did down in Redondo Beach.
Yep.
So that's been a couple of days. And I've made some, and I have some friends that came out of that meeting, and I'm still acquainted with. And it was your meeting and talking to you and Jill prompted me to understand I was in the right room. You know, this is the right world for me. And you can tell we both got a little gray hair.
Yeah.
So I'm been at this. I've been in credit and collections since 1980. I've been an entrepreneur. I've always been around. I always have been around money. I've worked for banks and in credit departments, and I owned 1989. I became an entrepreneur. Bought a collection agency at the advent, like land has happened, where we went from cards where you wrote things down to computers, and then to PCs, and then to distributed networking. And I happened to have a little experience in that. And I was the kid, right? So they gave the kid the IBM XT with the floppy drives and said, here, figure out how to use Lotus 1, 2, 3. And so I did that. Got some education in systems analysis, and like I said, I owned accounts receivable companies, and sold that business in 2005, and decided that the right thing to do was to own a property management business and real estate in the crash. So that was an experience. I exited with this giant stack of money and then turned around and gave it to other people. I figured out that retirement wasn't for me. And what I really like to do is coach and mentor and build. I really like to make stuff. I started, I've got a young partner, which everybody's young, right? We've got a young partner, Nick Curry, who I am blessed to have. Nick finishes everything I start. And we built a boutique lending business, small dollar. We do unsecured medical loans. We do a lot of EV loans. We lend mid subprime Teslas. We collect 1,000 payments a month. So I'm figuring I take that experience and I'll come over to land and I'll buy notes. Right? Great, good idea. What I bought, I bought 58 notes in a series of purchases from a couple of the Desert Square guys, right? You know, so I also wandered over into that community for a little bit. And when I got there and started to meet you and all the other people, it was what you really needed was joint venture money. You know, nobody starting out has time to wait for 3 years to get paid. You know, so we started doing that. So what do you want? You want some numbers?
So we're very close to the same age. I started I graduated from college in 89, and then just immediately realized real estate's, after doing a stint in accounting, real estate is where I should be. But more important than all that, I know what it's like to work, and I'm sure you do too, with just a telephone on your desk. It's just a whole different world.
Yeah.
You really have to, you got to think on your feet. I'm not saying you don't now, but it was just a whole different level of exposure and success. Sounds like you've been successful in with the computer and without a computer on your desk. So that's great.
Well, and
Yeah, I'd love to, I'd love to hear. We all want to hear numbers for sure.
yeah, the so the what happened in 1989 has happened here. Um, Things get digitized, costs go down, speed goes up. Uh, we built our own underwriting database and CRM and all this. My son works with me now, and he's leaning into subdivides and development and that kind of stuff. But he's been my IT guy, and the stuff that he does is just, I mean, we're pulling in land ID and data tree and all this stuff, boop, 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 and the machine and the AI comes in and gives it a score, and I come in and it's just, I'm so happy. Um, uh, but what we have done is we with all the tools that are available, we bought them all, and they all don't match up, even though the data comes from a couple of sources. But we've done some stuff. We're getting smarter. We're smarter. So maybe that's what we should talk about. Is maybe a couple of minutes on mistakes. But the total company, the land piece is about a quarter of what we do, and I'm looking to continue to grow it because this is fun, right?
Yeah.
This is just fun. Um, so so like I said, we do land funding, we do a bunch of medical, we do EVs. One of the comments you made this couple weeks ago, maybe, I don't know when this is going to air, but maybe two back, you talked about inflation and market changes, and you've been taking kind of I'm not even contrarian, kind of well, you've seen it before, right? Right.
Yep.
In 2009, I was running a property management business in Palm Springs, and I watched 170 doors turn into 45
Yep.
through foreclosures, and and what I didn't know was what the buying opportunity was. I was in the mud, and I didn't realize that $150,000 condo I could buy for 50. And if I had done that, that condo is now worth 400, right? And yeah, I didn't know.
When those things happen, we were a little bit more fortunate in that we got taken to our knees, stared into the abyss during that time, like everybody in real estate. We didn't have any leverage that we couldn't manage, and we didn't have we were buying and selling assets at that time, and I realized at the end of the downturn that we should be buying a lot more for the long term. But the problem with all recessions for me was, and has been, it won't be this time, is this the last one? Is it all going to tank? Is it over? Because if you just watch the regular news, it's like the world is ending. Every single day you watch the news, it's ending. So you got to separate all that stuff out. It's all just real estate. It's always going to come back. Some version of it's going to come back. So yeah, I'm set up to go on a buying spree. We are buying a lot right now, and I'm sure you're set up for it too.
Yeah. And so we've had this creation of this industry. Now it's not a niche anymore. Now it's like an industry. There's who knows how many teachers, how many gurus and schools, and then welcome to YouTube, and there's this flood of people coming in. And so I decided I'm gonna I made some notes to try to stay on track. Good luck.
No, not going to happen. It's all right.
So I decided that what we can be for folks is a little better than dumb money. I can bring some gray hair experience. I've got some scars, and I can help kids not blow up day one, not destroy their dreams. And we've done that with a number of partners, and we're going to talk a bit about partnership. What's a partner and what's just a hard money lender? And there's a big difference. Big difference. I should start here with a Kevin Farrell plug. So we funded a handful of deals with Kevin, and he's just he's still working with you guys. I mean, he's just great. And we had one go bad. We had one mistake. It's a pretty big mistake. It was 100 and change, and it's still a mistake. It is now a couple of years, and we're still sitting on this. And it was he relied on a whitetail agent who didn't really set foot on the property. He just drove by and said, "Yeah, it'll be okay." Turns out the slope is so steep that deer won't walk on it. Right? You know, you can't hunt on this land. If you shot something at the bottom of the hill, you'd never get out. You know, so we're still trying to figure that out. But Kevin put in 5 figures of his own money to build a landing, to make a place for you to get your truck off the road so you can get on the property and you can see it. And you know, and we'll get out of this. It's okay.
Yeah.
And that comes to, and I guess I can spin from there to how do I make a lending decision, right? You know, what do you know, you have your 8 A's, right? You know, I'm still using the 6 A's that, you know, that you put up on a PowerPoint half a dozen years ago. Maybe it was 5 A's then. But the things that have killed us are slope, access. That's most of it's right there. Thus that there's issues that, you know, you're buying, a lot of people are selling their problems.
Yeah.
Right. They're just, you know, they're grateful that some sucker from California sent them a letter and you know, hey, I can finally get out of this. And I used to believe that there's a price for everything, but then I met a 40+ year appraiser in Colorado who said, sometimes there's dirt that's just meant to hold the world together. Right? Right?
What does that mean?
Well, it means that some stuff just doesn't have any value.
Oh, it just got, you know, it's part of the earth. I see.
Yeah, it's just part of the earth. And it's just there is no, it may be the 38 tax deed lots I bought in Mojave last week. You know, maybe not, maybe some of those really don't have any value at all. But the price point, you know, at $1,000 a lot, when you add them all together, it'll be okay. Yeah.
You know, I used to think the same thing. There's always a price for something that has some value. And I learned that the hard way. At any price, you just don't want to deal with it. And I think that you get a little bit older and we have a dollar threshold now where, for the most part, not for not for deal funding, excuse me, but for the deals that we do, we need to make 100 grand, or it's just not worth it, because it's too easy to look at 50 deals instead of 20 and make sure that you're going to make $100,000. So it just comes with experience. I have to, before we continue, echo your opinion about Kevin Farrell. He's been an ambassador at Land Academy almost since the beginning, and just the nicest guy who's just got his head screwed on straight. And he did a whole presentation at one of our live events about deals that he screwed up, and it was some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen, because we've all been there. So he's a real guy, and I appreciate him as much as you do.
Your point about deal size is one of the things that I'm be looking to get in a back and forth. Is, I think what I did is I came into the market and I competed on price. I came into the JV market and said, I found out what the lowest price people were doing, and I went down below that. And so we did a deal split that was 80-20 for the partner. And suddenly I'm really popular, right? And so we did that, and in that came some people that weren't Kevin, and we learned. But overall, you know, our little side business here generated, I don't know, $400 and something thousand last year, and we're gonna well beat that this year. But we get this thing about, okay, here we are.
Yeah.
And then you say 100,000, and well, that's up here, right?
Yep.
And so I want to be maybe if you're 5 steps up from me, I think next year I can be 3 steps up. Right? And our best deals have been buy for 40, sell for 80.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's just been,
Yep.
it's below if we're below what the real estate market is in that
Mhm.
area, then you don't get competition. We are chasing an imperfect pricing model, and we're looking for glitches in the way people value things.
Yeah, the magic to my $100,000 number is we need to do 2 deals a month, 24 deals a year to get to 2.5 million.
Mhm.
And so we try to do 3 or 4 deals. It ends up being 2 deals, and we can live on that.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's not that there's so much magic to making 100 grand on a deal. It's part of a system. I'm sure you're a systems guy at this point.
well, I'm not, and that's the beauty of what I've built. What I learned. So what I did years ago is I didn't know what I did. What I did was a roll up. I bought 5 small local businesses, made a statewide presence, and the multiple of that valuation was more than double what the sum of the parts was.
Yeah.
Right? I made a machine, and the machine, everybody, when I was just 1 or 2 offices, I was the smartest guy, right? Which means I can only get this far, right? I can only see this far. When I built the machine, everybody in every management role was better at it than I was, right? And we're doing that now. My partner is a systems guy. My son's got software programming experience and has some vision. And I've got a disposition manager that I'll tell a little bit story about that in a bit, that is better at selling things than I am. Right?
Mhm.
So we take 1,000 payments a month now. I never talk to a borrower, right?
Yep.
Ever, right? So now how do I do that in land? Right? It took me 3 years to build up to 1,000 payments, right? For 3 years, for a year, I was the guy at the desk when you came in the door, right? I went all the way back to the beginning. I had some bumps along the way, and I decided the safest thing for me to do was just go back to small dollar face-to-face lending. And I went and bought a little platform in Southern California, was there like 3 months, and was like, nope, I need to do something better. Uh, so anyway, so then I started buying mortgages. And so I was buying mortgages, and that was working. And then
Mhm.
I somehow came across, I don't know how I came across you, but I did. And there you were. You were in Redondo. I was in Laguna Beach, and well, there we go. So there we go.
What do you
So
do? Can I ask you a couple note questions for land? Because I think everybody's interested. What do I, I have the perception that there's more, as a percentage, there's more non-performing notes in land, especially desert squares, than there might be with, let's say, houses or
oh,
credit card. I
they're
mean,
completely
what's,
different.
so what about, you know, from a non-performing loan standpoint, from a rural vacant land that may or may not be usable as we define that, how do you handle that?
So there are you can go through all kinds of different ways to do this. The small dollar desert square, Arkansas, Mississippi, $5,000 notes is a profitable, heavy hands-on, so much work it's not worth it business, right? But it's a machine, right? The 1,000 payments that we get now are almost all are unsecured. They're high default rates. They're they're people that other people won't touch, and that's been my experience. I owned collection agencies for 20 years. These are my people, right? So what happens? So back to your question was, what about land? The default rate is 10 times. 1% of mortgages go bad. If you're doing a good job with notes, 10% go bad. If you're doing the $99 a month, 25% go bad. 25% go bad. So that means you have to adjust the price. So there's a bunch of loan to own. Think about you running probably the best analogy is a used car lot. And you drive past used car lots, and that used car lot, right? that one with the 20-year-old Honda Civic, and that's their show car, is that's the one, that's the loan to own guy. He's probably making more money than the new car dealer,
Oh yeah.
right? I worked for a bank that taught me that there's money in people that don't have money. And we built portfolios that there was no way these people could pay their bills in full. They had to revolve, and we were charging 29.9. Right? So so you build the same model. If I know I have a 20% default rate, well, now I have to buy at a 40% discount. Right?
So it's really all price, huh? Once you get past,
Yeah,
and you have to just sit and work with them and look at their finances. This is really interesting for me anyway.
Well, so if you're going to write, if you're going to write a mortgage, well, now you've got a bunch of underwriting. I've got a lending license in a couple of states. There's a whole bunch of things you have to do if you're doing seller finance to a home occupant, a home occupant. This stuff you can be looser, but the looser and worse documentation you have, the less value that the note has if you're going to try to sell it. Right? So if it's, where's the guy work? I don't know. What's his cell phone number? I don't know. How'd you get paid? He sent me a cashier's check. No. Right? So it's all the logical stuff. And again, technology has given me all these tools. Quickie little online application. I get your bank information. I know if you had any NSFs. I get your credit score, and I offer you payment terms that give you a 18 months, 24, 36, 60, whatever the structure needs to be. You choose it, you get a contract online, boop, 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 you sign it, and you're done. We take high 90% of our payments all ACH. And again, I've set up a machine to do this. If I'm a small note investor and I've got 20 loans, I know what I do. I know what I do with my small stuff that's in my IRA and 401k and those kind of things. Everybody gets a break. Everybody can skip a payment. Oh, who cares? No. So everything that stays in the company is 30, 60, 90 out the door. Right? There's no, oh, I talked to Steve and he was feeling good that day. It was 30, 60, 90 out the door. You're in collections, off we go. So in land notes, if we take the common Desert Square note, it's zero interest, there's no underwriting, and there's a low down payment. The guy that I bought $500,000 worth of land notes from, and I've just done this also. I just bought another portfolio of, it's like, stop me. But maybe I'll get to that. He was doing the 99.99 down, and lo and behold, the same borrower can put $1,000 down and pay $199 a month, right? And it's the same borrower. The cost of capital, your acceleration of return is much faster. Everything now starts to work. But if you're out there selling, as we know, selling on price, there's no protection. There's no moat around what you're doing. So when I came in to look for JV partners, I came in on a price as like advertising. I came in on a price as advertising. Our average deal turns out to sell in 4 months at a 40-60 split. Since I started this, we've turned $5.5 million, $6 million. We made 1.2 million gross, and my partners made $1.8 million gross. And
excellent.
That's what I want. All of I'm old now. I'm not doing loan to own. I'm not doing all this stuff. I want you to come away a little bit better than me.
Yep.
I want that's capitalism.
That's been an integral, that's an integral part of our model since day one. Whoever we sell these properties to, and we buy them, we resell them for what I think is way less than retail. And whoever buys them from us needs to make more money so we can continue to do it. More money than me. So that's my hat's off to you. It's a hard thing to digest. you know you're leaving money on the table, and it's a hard thing to digest, but it's not hard anymore. I get a kick out of it, like you.
And it's the everybody win thing, is it's I I'll chase $1,000 with the same effort as I'll chase $100,000. I can't emotionally I can't tell the difference. It's how do I close this? How do I make everybody happy? Oh, I'm gonna have to pay the title insurance. Sure, who cares? Go.
Yeah.
Just go. Just go. You're waiting for a soil test. Let me go get it done for you. Let's just move along.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's your real deal maker. Jill's like that. It's just I want to get a deal done. I might make less money, but it has to get done.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
And if you're the right buyer for the property, I can get out of the way in all kinds of different ways. I can stretch terms. I can whatever. So that probably covers that. We've funded, I don't know, 50, 60 people. And of those, there's probably a core of, the 80-20 rule, I think, applies.
Yeah.
Right. And as people
That's us too.
Yeah. People come in, they don't like it. They don't like the space. They're not good at it. To be let's talk about this for a second. I talked about scale, how I built up and put people in that were better than me at all the jobs. And we see so many folks that it seems inefficient that they're one-man shows or they're just a couple of people, and the range of tasks that you need to do, the things that Jill does that you don't do, and vice versa, and then you delegate it out, make a much more efficient model than I'm doing everything. Luke Smith's got a video of him running his Z folder, sending out his letters. I got rid of my Z folder 30 years ago. There's mailing houses now, but the inefficiency that's in this space is okay as long as the margins support it. But I think we agree that margins are contracting because of people making stupid offers.
Yeah.
People I've turned down a couple of deals that have been, this is retail.
We have, Jill and I have at any given time a ton of property all over the country. We get a lot, not a lot, probably once a month we'll get an offer on one of them, and each of them, and those all add up. And we're selling as sellers properties now that would never have happened even last year, where she just signs it and sends it back and say, for this, I'm happy to sell it. So that's only gonna we mitigate that personally, because she gets on the phone with these sellers and they'll say, this is on everybody's mind right now, and I'm sure you know this. I just talked to a seller. They got 3 offers, whether that's true or not. Let's just say it's true. They received 3 offers. Your offer is not the highest, not even close. And she just goes to work. She does her magic and gets the deal done. So, and that's always been like that. And I rely on it. So I'm not worried about the attrition, but just from a pure number standpoint, this can't go on. People can't continually pay over retail for properties that are not going to be built on or utilized in any other way other than just vacant land at that price. So like any business, it's got to make sense financially. Well, so I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if people are getting bad education, if they're just sold deal junkies. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm getting better at understanding that I can't control macro events. Like I couldn't fix the California real estate market in 2009. How did I try? But we had this enormous COVID wealth created. Savings accounts. That's something I should probably send you because you like numbers like this. I mean, we had this enormous savings came. We had this whole, go run away from the city thing. We had all this euphoria over the printing of money. And a lot of the folks that have come in the last 3 years don't have any 2010 foreclosure experience. They don't,
Yep.
we don't know. Then the government, whatever the government is, isn't going to make the mistakes that they made in 2008, 9, 10.
I
They're
agree.
not going to do that. Whatever the history will show of the mistakes that were made in 2020, 2020, 21, whatever those mistakes are, we won't know for a few more years. Does $36 trillion matter? Not if you believe modern monetary theory.
Right.
But logic says that somebody has to pay a bill. Oh, it's us. What a surprise. So, inflation is here. Inflation will cause one of the biggest pieces of inflation is housing, right? So housing goes up. So therefore the underlying land value goes up. If I can sell a $500,000 house for 700,000, well, then I can pay 40% more for the dirt, right? Until I can't sell the house, right?
Yep.
Until interest rates are 10, 12%. I'm starting to sniff around bigger parcels, and this is something that maybe, not maybe, but yeah, you can help me. Parcels that are outside of my my buy box. I can't write a $500,000 check every week. I get it. But there's rezoned property that hasn't still being treated as vacant ag, and it's buildable now, and it's just time. And is now the time, or is now the time to buy it at such a price point that you sit on it? Is this land banking time? We've done some parcel splits. I did my first joint LLC with a couple people out of Land Academy, and I don't know where there's 5 partners, so we're all 20% partners, so we don't have to do the thin end thing. We all put in $100,000, about 10 lots in Buffalo, from a very experienced, sophisticated real estate person. And why would they sell these? Well, we think it's a double our money deal. Why would he do that? Because he's held them for 20 years. He's an apartment developer. He stays in his lane. Oh my God, somebody who stays in their lane. He's an apartment developer, and the city will never approve that turning this land into apartment complexes.
That's great.
Right? So he needs to go. He needs to go. He's our age, and he's like, I'm just going to go take this money and go build an apartment complex someplace else. He builds 300 units, garden style apartment buildings. That's what he does. So there's a bunch of acreage, and we're cutting it back up into single acre parcels, and the neighborhood is $700 to $1 million house. So I think our deals are $700 to $1 million on exit. Buy a dozen eggs, sell them one at a time. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'll have to tell you that's out of my lane. And every time I get out of my lane, it doesn't go well. So,
yeah.
And especially at this age, there's only so much now that I'm comfortable pushing myself toward. Like it usually involves, if not for any other reason, it's not my expertise. It involves higher risk, higher reward. And my answer usually to myself is why.
Yeah. Well, so to the point of, you've built a machine, and you come in, and the predictability of what you do is something that I need to aspire toward. And I have been, like you said, I love deals. I just love deals.
Jill's like that.
Yeah. And so you can give me a little handful of deals, and then have a machine like we have now collecting payments. Right? So I don't underwrite. I don't do, so I need to get smarter. I'm getting too old to, I can't keep up. I can't keep up with myself.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. I'm probably the 5th smartest guy in all these companies that we have, probably number 5. But when it comes to data, I get high off the data, not off the deals. It wasn't always like that, but that's really how it is now. And so I don't think that there's anybody that's a little smarter or brighter than I am from a data standpoint, maybe manipulating the data. They're smarter people for sure, but really collecting it, making sense of it, and applying a big picture toward converting it into money. That's why I think I was put on this planet for that.
Yeah.
And so I'm lucky to have people around me that convert that to money, specifically Joe.
Yeah. And so I've got to plug in, you know, one or two more people to pick up some of this stuff, or I'm gonna just keep getting us in trouble. Right?
Yes.
It's just
You
you
don't
know,
want,
yeah.
you don't want absolute power.
No,
You
no,
want a group of people around you that are going to stop you from being you.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that happens to me
yes,
every day. I don't
yeah,
know about you.
yeah. Well, we have this daily you know, we're doing a deal a day, right? Or at least once. We're doing deals all the time, and we have a standing half-hour meeting, deal review, and vote. And there was a deal that I said no, and they tabled it for more information. I missed the next meeting. They approved it. I mean, like what the heck, you know? And we'll see. And I just smiled and said, you know, this is so much of this stuff is opinion or
Yeah.
nuance, and you know how much is too much slope, how wet is too wet, you know, all that. You know, is this $50,000 purchase? What's worst case? It's $50,000. We'll get out what we paid for it. It's just fine. I have the number of deals that have not broken even are so few, you know.
We did. I vetoed 2 deals last year, which I thought was a veto, but they ended up going and doing it themselves anyway. That's how much authority I have here. And they killed it on both of them. On both deal, one of them we made $150,000 on, which is a lot for us per deal. So then now it's like, yeah, how hard should I push on this stuff? Because you know what, a lot of it for my age and our age too, for me is I just got burned on slope, let's say. I don't want to look at any properties with slope, which is ridiculous. That's not how you should be looking at it. It should be a lot more scientific than that. No emotion, no experience, that kind of thing. And that's just not how it ends up being.
Yeah, and that's an emotions the thing. I'm emotions first. You're the other side of the brain, whichever is which. You're the other side. I'm the hey, let's go party. But so we've continued to get better and better. Your 8As is a little ribbon on every one of our projects, and it measures sell-through rate, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. It measures margin, price per acre versus ours, slope, wet, access, you know. And so if you pass the 6 boxes, I shouldn't have to look, right? Because I said, here's the 6 boxes, get out of the way. Yeah,
I wonder
and
what would a ninth A be for slope?
can you walk up it? Can you
Go
walk
ahead.
up it?
Yeah. We
Can
need
you
a word starting with A.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is. I'll
Right.
figure it out. You're
It's
right.
yeah.
We haven't had too many. We just so shy away from slope, probably way too much. So it hasn't been a problem, which is probably why it's not an A yet. But I like the A expansion is not bad. It's good.
Yeah. So it's been, you know, so thank you for helping me at least get some kind of quantification instead of this, you know, show me pictures, you know.
Right.
Oh, so again, I'm back in. I bought but I didn't buy the business. I bought the assets of a Desert Square guy. So I got, I don't know, it's either 70 properties and 100 notes, or 100 notes, 70 properties, one of those. So what do Desert Square notes go for? It's going to be somewhere between 80%, which is what I've seen in open market, or the 60 cents that I pay, right? Because I've got the default experience.
So 60% of the note value or
Yeah.
the asset value?
Of the note value.
Okay.
Right? So what I try to
I would have figured you for 20%.
Well, I've bought out of the money second mortgages back in 2010 for a nickel.
Right.
Right.
And they weren't worth a nickel.
Well, but I didn't know that all I had to do was put them in a drawer and wait 3 years.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know. I settled them all for 10 cents
Hmm.
and it was a hero. It was like, it's like, markets come back.
Hmm.
Do you know Bruce Norris?
No.
Okay, Bruce Norris, the Norris Group, phenomenal folks out of Riverside. He's been teaching for 30 plus years. He predicted the crash, and he teaches this thing about charts. And you look at charts, and you draw the line, and you say, "Well, where are you on the line?" Right? And you look at the line now, and so you look at the Southern California line now. We should be here, and we're up here. And what's going to happen is we're going to have 10 years of here for the line to get back to even. So we're trying to learn how to look for markets on where they are on the line. Right? Where is growth happening? I'm trying to buy. I'm trying to buy. If I'm doing infill, trying to buy places where there's people migrating, right? People places where you can afford to build a house sell for $300,000 or $400,000.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly. That's the markets we're into.
Yeah.
Phoenix, the entire Phoenix market is great for that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And so this by picking up this new business that we just picked up, they've been around 4 years, 3-4 years. They did a marvelous job. That little 3-man band, done wonderful stuff. I get their disposition manager, which gives me that smarter person, right?
Wow.
And she comes with enough inventory to pay her own way and to pay for the purchase. And I think we could be whole in a year, maybe 18 months. So
Mhm.
so that's a 50% return on equity, and I should go do more of that. And so should I be finding people that have particular skills, like a Jill skill or a Jack skill, and connect them with the other half, right?
I'm writing this down. I should go do more of that. I don't know what I should go do more of, but I'm going to figure it out by the end of the day.
Unless, um, so the JV, like you said, you're talking about value. So the note pool average was, I think, a year plus payments on time. We didn't buy anything that was delinquent. Right? They are now doing a little bit of underwriting. So we're improving the quality of that, but that's the law of big numbers. If I have 100 loans and 10 go bad, I still have 90 that pay the bill. If my basis in that was 50%, then I'm okay.
Yeah, you're doing, yep. And that's predictable and repeatable.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing.
Yeah. And that's so I had run away from anything that didn't have a tree on it.
Hmm.
I just did not understand desert at all. Um, so the other side of that, one of my stories is have you ever bought a square mile?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have.
I did.
And it's
687 acres.
never goes well. But
No,
I hope you had a better story.
the a fairly experienced partner. We thought we had a solid exit. We probably did. We probably could have held on, but the buyer pool is one, right? Maybe two, right? It was a defunct cattle ranch in New Mexico. Um, Access was serious 4x4, not running up there in a Highlander. And it had water. It had some old adobe buildings on it. It was 100 years ago. It was a cattle ranch. We were in for 2.25 plus, so we're probably in for 250 with taxes. Took a year and a half.
Yep. Oh, you did sell it. That's great.
Yep. Sold it on terms, right? Sold it on terms, with interest. The buyer comes from Wisconsin.
Hmm.
The buyer is a looking to make a life change entrepreneur. And when you go look him up, he's got the nice house in town, close to the business. He's got the lake house. He's stable, great credit, all that stuff. Put a big payment down. I gave him a prepay incentive. But like I said, we're in for less than 250, out 50 down, note for 280, balloon in 5 years, $3,000 a month payment.
Yeah, with $50,000 down, that's a fantastic deal
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
That's great.
But I'm out of pocket 180,
Yeah,
something
I
like
know.
that. But I'm collecting $36,000 a year.
Yep.
So it's not land flipping kind of numbers, but this guy's never going to miss a payment.
That's great.
And he just leased some. I don't know how these leases work. He has a lease to Frontier Fiber Optics, and they're going to put either a line or a tower or something across his property.
Yeah, if they're doing that, then you're gonna that note will perform to the end.
Yeah, yeah, because I think he's getting $1,000 a month from that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I talk about getting out of your lane. 608. It wasn't even. There was a 640 square and an adjacent 40, so we were in for 687 acres. And yeah,
That's what concerns me about people who buy ranches and stuff. It's the seller, who you're going to sell it to is just such a small number of potential people. And it sounds like, I hope this guy's in the fiber optic business, because, that might be repeatable.
mm-hmm.
It sounds like somebody saw something, hopefully saw something in the land that you didn't see, and made it, consequently, it made it work for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it was, that's what was my intrinsic value? Like, what's the intrinsic value? What's the wholesale value of what we buy? And our goal is to be, I think the old days of buy for 25%, sell for 50, maybe buy for 35%, sell for 70.
I think you nailed it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's probably going to go to 45 and 90 and all of that. That's just how it is.
Yeah. Or it's going to go to
okay.
It's going to go to 45 and 65. Right. And then
Yeah.
suddenly it's not juicy. As house wholesalers are running here by the droves, and they're used to much narrower margins. We're running a team of commissioned cold callers as a comparative to mail. Since I bought this entity, it's now I'm on both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I'm a phone guy. I ran a collection agency. People didn't pay off of letters. People paid because you made a deal.
I've been saying for years, when there was a point where I tested it for myself, and then it became a full-time business. It's a hard transition for anybody. And what I told myself that ultimately made me make the decision, because we were having all this crazy success. Profit margins are crazy, double, triple our money, making all kinds of mistakes and doubling our money. What I told myself was, I can't ever lose the sight of the fact that this is going to be a 20% margin business, like every other business on the planet at some point. And it still hasn't become a 20% margin business. It's still way, way better than that for us anyway. And I keep waiting, Steve, for that 20% margin day. And I still have a note on it somewhere about that. And now I'm sitting here wondering, and this is not, it's not healthy to do this. Like, are we immune to this? Because I've got a team like that involves Jill and our transaction coordinator, Jan, who just seem to make, wine out of water. So I don't know. But in the end, I expect it to be 20%, even with those amazing tools.
Well, and it's at some point, as it's so, well, right now it's so messy and imperfect that it's hard to make a Wall Street pitch. Right? I am for the first time thinking I need to borrow some money, and to try to turn this into a one-page explainer saying I buy worthless stuff and sell it for more.
Yeah.
The So I think what we may do is, is lever the whole book. Is there's $3 million of performing unsecured paper and all these car notes and all this other stuff. That that's more understandable to a family office that would like to see, a 15% return. And if you spread the risk across hundreds of assets, then again, maybe that makes sense. But if I went to somebody and said, give me $1 million and I'll give you back 1.3, they would say no, because it must be something either illegal or you don't know what you're doing, or, it's like there's too good to be true. And because there's too many people that have gone out there and done the Bernie Madoff thing, that, it's just, it's not right. So we
Yeah, I
did.
mean, if you put a deck together on 15% return secured by single family residences, that are built after 2009 or 10, and built a profile, it'd be so easy to sell.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that maybe I need to move. I maybe need to go back to, the next step of doing. I've done a fair number of ground up construction projects over the years. Way back when we started, we were working in Pensacola, and you did your analysis on Pensacola and just said this market changes, between APNs. There's no way to pick a price per acre, right? And there isn't, so we sniped tax deed lots and built houses, and that kept the little team busy down there, and that was just fine. But it's not scalable unless I'm not Toll Brothers or KB Homes or anything. I built 10 houses.
Yeah.
I built the same model 9 times, I think. And the one time we got out of that box, ow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can, in Florida, you buy things called hurricane lots, right? But that doesn't work. So that doesn't work everywhere. Looking down at my notes, seeing if there's anything else that was like really exciting to tell you. Do you ever talk to your folks about tax advantaged investments? Do you ever get anybody on to talk about 401ks or anything like that?
We've done a private, utilizing a self-directed IRA. But if you've got, I'm happy to,
Well,
happy to listen to that.
I'm not a financial advisor, so let's put that whole caveat on this.
Yeah.
My experience is that we set up, it's me and my partner, we set up a company qualified retirement plan with 2 members. We did the mega Roth conversion thing that you'll hear people talk about. We have put in, it's either 180 or 220,000 in cash into this thing, and it's now $700,000.
Wow, that's great.
Right, because we cherry picked some deals, right, that we knew were going to be quick turn, and we've turned that money over 3 times a year. And so if you turn it over 3 times a year at reasonable deal splits, at 40% to us deal splits, that's 120% IRR, and it works.
So you never take a distribution on that, right? It's just got to stay in there. That's
I'm
good.
old. I'm old enough now.
Yeah,
I could
understand.
I could take my 100,000 back out, right, and just let it churn on its own. But I can't admit that I'm old enough to do that. I get Social Security now.
Wow, okay, good.
Right? And
I'm
I
not quite there yet.
I can give you a rant on why that's not going to last forever.
Yeah. I bet we agree on that.
Yeah, it's like, so that money goes in another account that, I look at the end of the year and, I do something with. But it goes to Rotary. That's where it goes. But the QRP with a solo self-directed checkbook control LLC gives us that one step removed so that we're not self-dealing, but we're sure doing the same job we're doing 9 to 5. We're just doing it over there, right?
Yep.
And Cannonade Investment Group is now, again, it's going to be $1 million. It's going to be $1 million thing next year.
It's fantastic.
right? And so any of your people that are under 67 years old might want to think about carving off, 10%
Mhm.
to go do that,
Do you have somebody that you like that set it all up for you? Because I understand upfront it's time consuming.
Wasn't hard. We did it with Anderson Advisors. I've turned out to not be a big fan of them. I need more personal. You can tell I need more personal stuff. They're speaking of a machine. They do
Yeah.
9,000 tax returns a year. That's just they have no idea who I am. But the QRP's managed that tax return is getting done in another group, and we're like I said, we're picking 1 out of 10, 1 out of 8 deals, putting them over there, turning over that money, and my partner is 36, and imagine what that's going to be like in 30 years, right?
Amazing.
Right? Right? Compound. Let's compound at 100% a year. Get out the calculator. Let's compound
Yeah.
for 100% a year for 30 years.
You
Yeah,
don't need it. You don't need a calculator for that.
yeah, yeah. So that's yeah. I guess that's one of the big takeaways for your tribe is some little bit of money. Come buy a
Mhm.
note. Go do something with somebody else so that it's over there, and then they can come do something with you. So it's over there, and everybody takes care of each other. And
Yep.
I buy the back end of notes,
Mhm.
right? Because I don't need the money today, right? So you discount a note, I'll take the back, I'll take it take it 10 years from now. I don't need it. You need the money now. I need the money later. And what's my loan to value? 20%. It's probably going to be okay. Things aren't going to, may not go down 80%, but we saw them go down 50%,
Yeah.
right? I bought a shopping center in 2000, the end of 2005, the end of 2006 for $5.5 million. And in March 2008, it was worth $2.5 million,
I know what you mean.
right? And I rode that the entire way. I fed that thing
Mhm.
for 8 years, and it finally came out okay. But it is soul crushing,
Yep.
right?
You're defeated.
Yeah. So so spread your risks, like you said. Make $100,000 a deal.
Mhm.
Don't try to make $30 million in one. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, unless you got the money unless you can go to that table and make that big bet and be okay if it fails.
Mhm.
Or you got time, or you're my 36-year-old partner and you got time.
Steve, before you wrap up, do you have any advice? Real simple advice for people who are, let's say, 25 years old that are th- trying to figure out what they're going to do with the rest of their lives.
So if you're working really hard for an employer, then you're going to be okay as an entrepreneur. If you're half, walking through your job, sleepwalking through your job, going out to the bar and complaining to people about how lousy your employer is, well, you should stay in a job because I'm a terrible boss. I'm awful. I beat myself up all day, all the time. Although this is the most fun I've had in forever. I play Monopoly for a living, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. This is this
Mhm.
is this is this is not a job, right? But if you hate your job and you're lousy at it, you may not be good working for yourself. So get really good at what you're doing.
I like to say if you've been real successful at something in your life, then you're going to be very successful at this because it's
Yeah,
probably easier.
yeah, yeah. I will go with that. I will go. That makes sense. Yeah, but
Steve, it was great talking to you today. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure based on this conversation, we'll do it again if
okay.
you're up for it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. All right. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Steve Hodgdon,
Thank you.
everybody.
Okay.
Thanks for listening.
All right.
Landacademy.com.
Okay. All right.
Thanks,
Take care.
pal.
We hope you found our content valuable and we appreciate your support. If you have not already, please check out our channel and hit the subscribe button.
And your comments and suggestions help us to create the content you're here for. Hitting the like button helps to support our channel's algorithm and gauge your interest for future shows.